So today we're going to be going through the Pearson Edexcel IGCSE Mathematics A Paper 1H Higher Tier paper. This is the formula sheet which they give to you at the beginning of every paper and contains all the relevant formulae. There's 24 questions, so let's begin. 80 students are entered a dancing competition. The table gives information about the length of time in minutes for which each student spent dancing. Work out an estimate for the mean length of time the student spent dancing. So for these types of questions where they ask you to work out the mean length, what you need to do is take the midpoint of each frequency of each time and then multiply by the frequency. So we have to do this for each row. So let's start here. 0 and 12. So the midpoint of that will be 6 and we multiply by the frequency, which is 11. Plus, do the same for the next row. The midpoint of 12 and 24 is 18 and multiply by 25. Plus, the midpoint of this will be 30 times 23 plus 42 times 15 plus 54, which is the midpoint of 40 and 60, times 6. And you divide it by the total number of students, which they've given as 80 students. So now if we work this out, that's going to give you, if you work the top out, it's 2,160 and you divide it by 80, which will give you an answer of 27 minutes. So that's the mean length of time, okay? So we can write 27 here. Next question. Solve 3 in brackets 2 minus 4x equals 5 minus 8x. So for these types of questions, what we need to do is expand the brackets first, okay? If there's brackets, you begin by expanding it. Okay, so 3 multiplied by 2 is 6, minus 4 times 3x is minus 12x, equals 5 minus 8x. Now bring all the x's to one side and take the numbers to one side, because you're solving for x. So that'll give you minus 4x equals, if you do 5 minus 6, minus 1. Divide each side by minus 1, which will give you 4x equals 1, and x will equal a quarter. Okay, so the answer for this question will be 1/4. Next question. Use ruler and compasses only to construct the perpendicular bisector of line AB. You must show all your construction lines. Okay, for this question, I can't actually use a compass, but I'll go through the process. So you get your compass and you measure roughly with the compass two ends a length greater than half of this, okay? So a length greater than half of this, and you get that and you draw an arc, okay? You draw an arc, something like that with your compass. And then you draw that at end A and you also draw it at end B, like that. Okay, not the best diagram, guys, but you get what I mean. You draw 2 arcs and once you've done that, you get your ruler and you join it up, okay? You join it up where it intersects, okay, where the 2 arcs intersect, and you use a ruler to draw a straight line, and then that will be your perpendicular bisector. So you have to make sure you do it with a ruler and compass, not freehand like how I did. Next question. The diagram shows a pentagon. Work out the value of x. Okay, so we need to work out the value of x, but first what we need to do is work out the total interior angle, the sum of all the interior angles in a pentagon. Okay, so sum of interior angles in a pentagon. And we can do this by using the formula 180 multiplied by n minus 2, where n is the number of sides of the shape. So here we're using a pentagon, which is 5 sides. So it'll be 180 times 5 minus 2, which gives you 540 degrees. So what this says is that all the angles in this pentagon have to add up to 540 degrees. Now, we've got 119, we've got 67, 135. This is a right angle, so this will be 90 degrees. And then we've got x. So now if we write an equation, x plus 119 plus 67 plus 135 plus 90 should give you a total sum of 540 degrees. So now all we need to do is solve the equation. X plus 411 equals 540. So x should equal 129 degrees. Okay? 129 degrees. Good. Next question. In a box, there are only green sweets, orange sweets, and yellow sweets. There are 280 sweets in the box, so that the number of green sweets to the number of orange sweets equals 2 to 3, and the number of orange sweets to the number of yellow sweets equals 1 to 5. Work out how many green sweets there are in the box. Okay, so some of the key information here is there's 280 sweets, and we've got the ratio of the number of green sweets to the number of orange sweets is 2 to 3, the number of orange sweets to the number of yellow sweets is 1 to 5. Okay, so we're going to solve this in terms of algebra, okay? Because we don't know how many sweets there are of either green, orange, or yellow. So let's label one of them. Let's add a variable in. So whenever you include a variable, you have to make sure you define that variable. So I'm going to say, let the number of green sweets equals 2x, okay? So, and the reason I'm using 2x instead of x is because once you use x, it's going to get very complicated because you're going to have lots of fractions in your algebra, and that's not very nice to solve. So I'm going to use 2x. Now, we know that the number of green sweets and number of orange sweets is 2 to 3. So if we have number of green sweets as 2x, then the number of orange sweets must equal 3x because the ratio is 2 to 3. Okay? As you can see, the ratio of this to this will be 2 to 3. And now we have the number of orange sweets and the number of yellow sweets is 1 to 5. So the number of yellow sweets will be 5 times this, because the ratio is 1 to 5. So 15x. Now, we know that there are only green, orange, and yellow sweets, and altogether there's 280 sweets. So when you add all of these, it should give you 280. So now we can form an equation, 2x plus 3x plus 15x equals 280. So 20x equals 280 and x equals 14. But you have to be careful. If you read the question, guys, it says work out how many green sweets there are, okay? And all we've worked out is x, but remember we defined x as the number as 2x. So now you need to multiply by 2 to find out the number of green sweets, which is 28. Okay, so the answer will be 28. Cool. Next question. Shane bought a car. The amount Shane paid for the car was $32,000. Teresa also bought a car. To pay for this car, Teresa paid a deposit of $18,000 together with 14 monthly payments of $1,160. Teresa paid more for her car than Shane paid for his car. And work out how much Teresa paid as a percentage of the amount Shane paid. Okay, so first let's work out how much Teresa paid for her car. Teresa, okay, so she paid $18,000 plus 14 monthly payments of 1,160. So you have to do 14 multiplied by 1,160 because each month she paid 1,160. So altogether she paid $34,240. But it says work out how much more Teresa paid. Okay, how much more did she pay compared to Shane? So you have to do 34,240 minus 32,000 to work out how much more she paid, which is $2,240. But remember, it says work it out as a percentage of the amount Shane paid. Okay, if we work it out as a percentage, it'll be 2,240 divided by 32,000 multiplied by 100. Because Shane paid 32,000, the difference is 2,240, and because it says percentage, you have to multiply by 100. And that gives you an answer of 7%. Okay, next question. Kylie bought a van. After 1 year, the value of the van was $39,865. During this year, the value of the van decreased by 15%. Work out the value of the van when Kylie bought it. Okay, so again, I'm going to use a variable here because we don't know what the original price of the van was, so that's what we're trying to work out. So let x be the original price of the van. Okay, let x be the original price of the van. So what we do know is that after 1 year, the value of the van was $39,865, and it's decreased by 15%. So because it's decreased by 15%, that means the final price of the van is 0.85x. Okay, if the original was 8x pounds, the final will be 0.85 because it's decreased by 15%. And that's equal to $39,865. Now we need to work out what x is, what the original price of the van is when Kylie bought it. So we divide by 0.85 on this side, and then we divide by 0.85 on that side. And that gives you an answer of $46,900. $46,900. Cool. Next question. Some members of a library were asked to name the type of book that they each like to read the best. One of the members is chosen at random. The table shows information about the probability of the type of book that this member answered. 48 members answered comedy books. Work out how many of the members answered mystery books. Okay, so whenever you see a table and you have probability, you always have to remember probabilities add up to 1. Okay, so all of these probabilities here are going to add up to 1. So we can form an equation then. 0.24 plus 0.4 plus 3x plus x equals 1. So 4x plus 0.64 equals 1. 4x equals 0.369. So x will equal 0.09. So now we know that the probability of people liking thriller books is 0.09. And the probability of people liking mystery books will be 0.09 multiplied by 3, which is 0.27. Okay? So, make sure you read the question again. Here it says, it doesn't ask for, it does not ask for the probability, okay? It asks for how many of the members answered mystery books. What they've told us that 48 members answered comedy books. So we know that comedy, which has a probability of 0.24, we have 48 people answering comedy books. And we need to work out the members answering mystery books, which is 0.27. Okay, so let's work out 0.01 first. How many people would answer for a probability of 0.01? So you divide by 24, and you divide by 24. So that's 2. Now we need to work out the members answer mystery books. So that's a probability of 0.27. Multiply by 27 on this side, and multiply by 27. So that means the answer is 54. 54 members. Okay? 54. Next question. The diagram shows a triangle ABC inside a semicircle. A, B, and C are points on the semicircle. AB is the diameter of the semicircle. Angle ACB is 90 degrees, BAC 50 degrees, AC is 18. Work out the perimeter of the semicircle. Okay, so let's first write a formula for the perimeter, because then you can work out the lengths that you need, and it's so much easier. You just need to plug in the values after. So the perimeter of the semicircle, perimeter will equal, so we know the perimeter of a circle is 2 pi r, but because this is a semicircle, you're going to have to divide by 2. But then, that will only give you this curved section here, okay? So you need to make sure you add the length AB on 2 to give you the total perimeter. So 2 pi r divided by 2 gives you that length, and then you add AB. So right now what we need is length AB, and we also need the length of the radius, okay? But we don't have any of that information, so we need to work it out ourselves. What we have here is a right angled triangle, okay? And if you have a right angled triangle, you have one length, you've got an angle, and we need to work out this, AB. We need it for the formula, but because this is also the diameter of the circle, you can find the radius too, which we need for the perimeter. So let's work out length AB. If you have a length, a right angle triangle, and an angle, what should come to mind is trigonometry. Okay, you can use trigonometry to work out length AB. So let me redraw that triangle for you guys, so it'll be much easier to see. Okay, not the best diagram, but that's ACB, that's X, let's label, let AB equals X, okay? Because then it's much easier to solve. That's 50 and that's 18, okay. So this length is adjacent to the angle, this is the hypotenuse, so SOHCAHTOA, this is cos, okay? So cos 50 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So now we just need to solve for x, which will be 18 over cos 50, and gives an answer of 28, which is also the length of AB, okay? Because we labelled AB as x. So now we know this length is 28.0 centimeters. And that's the diameter. So now we can work out the radius easily by just dividing the diameter by 2. So now the radius is now 14.0. And all we need to do now is just plug it back into the equation we created here, the perimeter equation, okay? So P equals 2 pi times radius, 14, divided by 2 plus length AB, 28. And that should give you an answer of 72 centimeters. Yep, 72 centimeters. Okay. Oops, 72. Cool. Next question. Write 6.25 times 10 to the minus 4 as an ordinary number. Okay, so we need to write this as an ordinary number. When it says times 10 to the minus 4, so this is clearly in standard form. When it says times 10 to the minus 4, it just means we're going back 4, okay? 4 placeholders. So that would be 0.000625. And we can check, because if we start here, 6.25, and go back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 6.25 times 10 to the minus 4. Cool. Work out 2.4 times 10 to the 12 divided by 9.6 times 10 to the 4. Give your answer in standard form, so that's really important, guys. Okay, so 2.4 times 10 to the 12 divided by 9.6 times 10 to the 4. So what I recommend starting is dividing the numbers. 2.4 divided by 9.6, which is 0.25, okay? Times. Now, when you have indices and you're dividing, it means you're basically subtracting the indices, okay? So say, for example, I'm just going to do a quick example here. This is indices laws that you just need to learn. A to the power of 6 divided by a to the power of 3. What you're going to do is subtract the indices, so that will give you a to the power of 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. If you have multiplication, a to the power of 4 times a to the power of 2, for example, you add the indices, a to the power of 6, okay? So this is just indices laws that you need to learn. So here, this is divide, so what you're going to do is you're going to subtract the indices, 12 minus 4, which is 8. But remember, this is not in standard form, okay? Standard form, if you're going to write your answer in standard form, it means you need to write 2.5 times 10 to the 7, okay? Because this is not in standard form. So you need to convert it. So the answer will be 2.5 times 10 to the 7. Okay, cool. Next question. Factorize y squared minus 2y minus 48. Okay, so you need to work out which two numbers, when you multiply, give you an answer of minus 48. And which two numbers, when you add, give you an answer of minus 2. So that will be 8 and 6. But remember, it says minus 48, so it'll have to be minus 8 times 6, which gives you minus 48, and minus 8 plus 6, which gives you minus 2. So when you factorize it, it'll be y minus 8 and y plus 6. Okay? So that's how you factorize quadratics. You see which two numbers multiply to give you minus 48, and which two numbers, when you add them together, gives you minus 2. Okay, next question. Write the inequality shown on the number line. Okay, so firstly you need to identify if this is shaded or not shaded. This is clearly shaded, okay? If it's a shaded circle, it means it's either going to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, okay? You have to remember that equal to sign, otherwise you're going to lose that mark. If it's not shaded and it's just a bare circle, it just means greater than or less than, okay? It doesn't include the equal to sign, okay? So that's something worth remembering for future questions. Now, here we have x, and all these values are less than 3. So it's going to be x is less than or equal to 3. Okay, it's going to be x is less than or equal to 3. Okay, let's move on. Solve the inequality. 7w plus 6 is greater than 12w plus 14. Okay, let's write that out. Okay, when you solve inequalities, it's just like solving equations, but you just have to remember the inequality sign, okay? So you take the w's to one side and make sure that it remains positive. The w always has to be positive. So if we subtract 7w from each side, that's going to give you 5w plus 14 is less than 6. And then if you subtract 14 from each side, it'll give you 5w is less than minus 8. Now, if we divide by 5 both sides, that'll give you w is less than minus 8 over 5. So I'm just going to write that out like this. And that's the answer. Okay, so it's just like solving equations, but you always have to remember that the W should be positive, because otherwise the sign is going to switch and it gets too confusing. So just make sure you keep the W positive. So instead of subtracting from 12W each side, which will give you a negative answer, you subtract 7W from each side, which will keep W positive. Okay, so W is less than minus 8/5. Cool, next question. 11. The region R shaded in the diagram is bounded by the straight lines with equations 2x plus y equals 6, 2y equals 5x plus 1, and 3y plus 2x equals 4. Write down the 3 inequalities that define R. Okay, for these types of questions, I recommend first starting out by labeling the diagram and labeling which line is what equation, matching it up. Okay, so here we have 2x plus y equals 6. So whenever I do these, I do it by finding the y-intercept, okay? Because you can clearly see that these 3 lines have different y-intercepts, okay? So 2x plus y equals 6, so clearly that has a y-intercept of 6, okay? So what you're going to do is find which line has a y-intercept of 6, which is this line here. So that's going to be 2x plus y equals 6. Let's see the next one. 2y equals 5x plus 1. So that y-intercept isn't that clear. Let's just rearrange this equation quickly so we can find the y-intercept. Y equals 5 over 2x plus half. So the y-intercept for this line is half. So let's see which line that would be. This one here. That has a y-intercept of 0.5, okay? So that's going to be 2y equals 5x plus 1. And then finally, the other line is going to be this line here. Is it? Yeah, this line here, sorry, that line here. That's going to give you 3y plus 2x equals 4. Okay, now that we've labelled all the lines, we can easily find the inequalities. So let's start with 2x plus y equals 6. So this line here, we can clearly see that it's in this region. Okay, it's in this region here. Here, okay, if we take that line, we can see that it's less than, okay, it's shifting to the left, so it means that it's going to be less than. So the inequality will therefore be 2x plus y is less than or equal to 6. Now, again, you have to remember these lines are solid lines, so you have to include the equals to sign. If it was a dashed line like that, that means you won't include the equal to sign. But since these are solid lines, you'll have to include the equal to. Okay. Now, moving on, let's label the next inequality. Just rub that out. (2y equals 5x plus 1). So, here, if we look at it, that's the line 2y equals 5x plus 1. Okay, this line here, let me just highlight it, that line here, that's 2y equals 5x plus 1. And if you can see, region R is here, okay? It's to the right-hand side, like there. Okay, that's region R. So that means that 2y has to be greater than 5x plus 1, because it's covering this right-hand area. So we can write the inequality as 2y is greater than 5x plus 1. Now, last inequality will be, quickly rub that out, otherwise it gets too confusing. Okay, the last inequality is 3y plus 2x equals 4. Now, let's identify that line. It's this line here, and it's on the right-hand side. Again, similar to the previous one. Okay, it's on the right-hand side. So region R is here, to the right of the line, 3y plus 2x equals 4. So that means it's going to be greater. The inequality is going to be greater than. So 3y plus 2x is going to be greater than or equal to 4. Okay? Okay, let's move on. Work out the value of m. Okay. So we've just been through indices rules, so this should be easy for you guys. If we have multiply, we add the indices. So m is going to be equal to half plus 2/5, which is 9 over 10. So m is 9/10. And if you divide, you're going to subtract the indices. So n equals minus 10 divided by minus 4. sorry, not divided by, my bad, minus 10 minus minus 4, which is equal to minus 6. So n is minus 6. Expand and simplify 3x in brackets 2x minus 5 all things squared. Show clear algebraic working. Okay, so similar to what I said before, let's just write this out. 2x minus 5 squared. So what I recommend doing is expanding this bit first, okay, the squared part. So if I write that out for you clearly, guys, okay, we expand this bit here first, because then we can multiply the whole thing by 3x. So 2x multiplied by 2x is 4x squared, minus 5 times 2x is minus 10x, minus 5 times 2x is minus 10x, minus 5 times minus 5 is plus 25. Now let's simplify inside, let's join the like terms. Now we have to multiply the whole thing by 3x, okay? Because it says expand and simplify it. So we need to multiply the whole thing by 3x. So that should give you an answer of 12x cubed when you multiply 4x squared by 3x. Minus 60x squared plus 75x. Okay? Cool. Let's just write that here. 12x cubed minus 60x squared plus 75x. Awesome. Complete the table for y equals 2 over x in brackets 5 minus 1 over x. Okay, so this is really easy. All you need to do is just get x and substitute it in here. Okay, so you get y equals 2 over 0.5 multiplied by 5 minus 1 over 0.5. You just plug that into your calculator and whatever you get would be the y value. Okay, so you just substitute these x values and find what y is. So this will give you an answer of 12 and that will give you an answer of 4.5. Then what you do is you just plot the graph. So you plot the coordinates. The first coordinate will be 0.512, which I've plotted. I've already plotted the graph for you guys. 0.512, 1, 8, 2, 4.5. You just carry on plotting it and then you draw a smooth curve. Now guys, I can't do this on the iPad. Okay, it's not very smooth, but you need to make sure you draw a very smooth curve. But it has to be a curve, as you can see, okay, as I've shown on the diagram. Okay, hopefully you guys get it. Next question. Here are 9 cards. Each card has either a number on it or a letter on it. Thomas is playing a game. Thomas takes out random one of the cards and keeps it. Okay, that's important information. He keeps the card and then he takes at random another card and he keeps it. So what that means is it's non-replaceable. It's non-replaced, okay? He's not replacing the cards. He's not replacing the cards. So that's going to affect your probability and your tree diagram. Let's go through that now. Okay. So, first card. If he gets what's the probability of him getting a number? So, there's 9 cards altogether, so it's going to be out of 9. And the probability of him getting a number, because there's only 2 numbers, is 2/9, okay? Now, if you get the second card, because he's removing the card and keeping it, there's only going to be 8 cards left now, okay? Because he's removing the card and keeping it, there's only 8 cards remaining. So, if he chooses a number on the first time, since there's only 2 numbers, once he's removed one of the numbers, there's only 1 number remaining. So the probability of getting a number on the second card will be 1 over 8. Okay? Now, if you get a letter, the probability of getting a second card as a letter, total number of cards is 8, but there's still 7 letters. Okay, he hasn't chosen a letter on the first card, so there's still 7 letters. Okay, now similarly for letters, the probability, since there's 7 letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's going to be a probability of 7 over 9. And since there's 8 cards remaining, that's going to give you a probability of choosing a number is 2 over 8 because he hasn't chosen a number on the first time. And the probability of choosing a letter will be 6 over 8 because he's chosen a letter, removed it, and now there's only 6 letters left. Okay, so that's the tree diagram. Work out the probability that each of the 2 cards has a number on it. So work out the probability that you get a number on your first card and a number on your second card. Let's see. What's the probability of getting a number on the first card and the second card? So probability of getting a number on the first card is 2 over 9, and the probability of getting this number on your second card is 1 over 8. So you do 2 over 9 times 1 over 8. Okay, so when you're working out the probability that something, so here we have a number and a number. If it's and, you have to make sure you multiply, okay? And that'll give you an answer of 2 over 72, which we can simplify to 1 over 36, okay? Next question. Work out the probability that there will be one card with a number on it and one card with a letter on it. So you have to be careful here. Here there's two scenarios, okay? There's two instances where you can get a number and a letter. You can either get a number on the first go and a letter on the second go, or you could get a... You can either get a number on the first go and a letter on the second go, or you can get a letter on the first go and a number on the second go. Either way, you're still getting a number once and a letter once. So you have to make sure you do that probability twice. So let's write that down here. Oops. Okay, probability of number on the first go and a letter on the second go, or the probability of a letter on the first go and the number on the second go. Okay, there's two scenarios. Now, let's see. What's the probability of getting a number on the first go? Number 2 over 9, and the probability of getting a letter is 7 over 8. 2 over 9 multiplied by 7 over 8. Oops. And the probability of getting a letter on the first go is 7 over 9 multiplied by getting a number is 2 over 8. Okay, you can just read those off the probability tree diagram, which is why it's very helpful. So if you work that out, that'll be 14 over 72, and that'll also be 14 over 72. Now, because if you listened earlier, I mentioned the word or, okay? So there's two scenarios, and there's getting one scenario or another scenario. So whenever you have the word or, it means you add the probabilities. So you have to make sure you remember this. And means you multiply probabilities, or means you add probabilities. So what we need to do here, because there's two scenarios, you add the probabilities. So that will give you probability of 28 over 72, which we can simplify to 7 over 18. Okay, so the answer is 7 over 18. Next question. Here is a shape formed from two triangles, ABC and CDE. ACD and BCE are straight lines. So this looks like an example of similar triangles, okay? Similar triangles. We've got the two straight lines. They've given you lengths, which they labelled on the diagram, and angle BAC is 64. Work out the length of DE. Okay, so we need to work out this length here. Let's label that X. So let's, again, when you add a variable, you have to make sure you define it. Let DE equal X. Okay. So there's two formulas which you need to use for this. Sine rule and cosine rule. Now, sine rule, they've given you these formulas here in the formula booklet, sine rule and cosine rule, so you don't need to learn it. Let's go back to the question. Okay, so what I recommend is when you do questions, especially long answer questions, this is worth 5 marks, which lots of the end questions are. First, work out a plan, okay? So I'm going to talk you through my method. Okay, and then you start solving, because once you have a rough method, a rough idea of what you're doing, it's going to be so much easier to solve. So what I'm going to do is first, we're going to work out this angle here. We're going to work out this angle here. Sorry, no, that's the wrong angle. We're going to work out this angle here, angle ABC. And we can do that by using sine rule. We have this length opposite this angle and this length opposite this angle. Okay, so we can use sine rule to work out that angle. Then we can work out this angle here, angle BCA, because in a triangle there's 180 degrees, so you can subtract it to work out this red angle here. Okay, now because these are similar triangles, this angle here, BCA, is going to equal DCE, vertically opposite. Okay, these angles are vertically opposite each other. So once we've worked out that angle, we can then use cosine rule to work out DE. Okay, and that's how I'm going to approach this question. So let's start. Let's start by using cosine rule. Sorry, not cosine, sine rule. And working out angle ABC. Okay, it's easier to draw the triangle because it's so much easier to visualize it. So let me draw the triangle for you guys. That's CBA. That's the angle we want to work out. I'm going to label that theta. That's 64. BC is 31. And AC is 24. So sine rule states sine A over A equals sine B over B. They've given you that formula in the formula booklet. So, sine 64 over 31, because those two angles are opposite, equals sine theta over 24. And now we can work out theta. Just plug it into your calculator. So sine theta equals, let me quickly work that out, guys. Sine 64 over 31 multiplied by 24, 0.6958, blah, blah, blah. Theta is going to be sine inverse of that, which is 44.1 degrees. Okay? Now that we've worked out that this is 44.1 degrees, oops, this is not very neat. You can now work out that right angle, so angle BCA. Angle BCA, which is going to be 180 minus 64 plus 44.1 degrees, because in a triangle there's 180 degrees. And that should give you an answer of 71.9 degrees. So angle BCA is 71.9 degrees. So once we've worked out this angle here, 71.9 degrees, that's going to equal this angle here, 9 degrees, because they're vertically opposite. So now we can use cosine rule to work out the length of DE. So let's do that right now. Let me draw the next triangle for you. Okay, 60, 19, 71.9 degrees and x. X is what we need to work out. That's what we labeled DE as. Okay, what's the other length? C. Sorry, other side. Okay, so now we use cosine rule. They've given you, again, this formula in the booklet. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos theta. So A squared equals, these are opposite. Sorry, not A, X. That'll be X squared, because we've labeled that variable as X. Otherwise it's going to get too confusing. X squared equals 16 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 multiplied by 16 times 19 cos 71.9. And when you plug that in your calculator, you should get an answer of 428.166. And if you square root it, you get x is 20.7 to 3SF. Okay, so DE, which is equal to DE, is 20.7 centimeters. 20.7. Cool. Next question. Y is inversely proportional to root x. Y equals c to the power 4 when x equals c squared, where c is a positive constant. Find a formula for y in terms of x and c and give your answer in its simplest form. Okay, so let's start off here. Y is inversely proportional to root x. So whenever you see something directly proportional, inversely proportional, you have to make sure you write it out first, okay? Write it out in its notation. So if it's inversely proportional, it means it's going to be 1 over, and because it's inversely proportional to root x, it's going to be 1 over root x. But that's not very useful. Having that inversely proportional sign is not very useful. Let's convert it into an equation where it's much more easier to manipulate. So y equals, whenever you convert it into equation, the top bit becomes k, okay? The 1 becomes a k, and that's going to be y equals k over root x. Now that we have this, okay, we know that they've told us y equals c to the power 4 when x equals c squared. So we can substitute those in here. So y equals c to the power 4 when x equals c squared. And what our aim here is to find out what k is, because we want to eliminate k. What they've told us to do is work out a formula in terms of x and c, so they don't want any k in it. So let's work out what the value of k is in terms of c. So y equals c to the power 4 when x equals c squared. So root c squared. Now root c squared is another way of saying to the power of half, because root means to the power of half. Now c to the power 4 equals k over. Now if something, again this is another indices rule you have to learn. A to the power of 3 multiplied by, in all in brackets to the power of 4, you multiply the indices, okay? So that'll give you a to the power of 12. So here it's going to be 2 times half, so it'll be c. Okay, so when you have something, an indice, to the power of another indice, you have to multiply the two indices. So we can work out what k is now, c4 times c, and what you do here is you add the indices, so that'll give you c to the power 5. So now we know that k is equal to c to the power 5. Let's substitute that back into this equation here. y equals c to the power 5 over root x. And that's your formula. Let's check if we've answered the question. Find a formula for y in terms of x and c. Yeah, this is a formula for y, and we found it in terms of x and c. Those are the only two variables we've included. Okay? Y equals c to the power 5 over root x. Next question. The function f is such that f(x) equals k over x, where x is not equal to 0 and k is an integer. Express the inverse function f inverse in the form, okay, fine. Now, if we have an inverse function, we have to manipulate it a bit, okay? So f of x, I'm going to write it as y, and that's equal to k of x. Now, when you have an inverse function, this is like a law that you could just follow for every single question where it's about inverse functions. You swap the x and y, so that becomes x equals k over y, and now your aim is to make y the subject. So let's make y the subject. xy equals k, so y equals k over x. In this question, coincidentally, it's the exact same as the one given, but normally it isn't, okay? So this is just an example where it is, but it's not always the exact same as the function, the original function. But what you need to do for if it's expressing the inverse function, you write the equation, then switch the x and y and make y subject. It's just 3 steps, okay? It can be, some of these questions can be like 5 marks, okay? So this is quite a simple one, but as long as you remember those 3 rules, you'll be fine. The function g is such that gx equals 2 minus 3x to the power 4. The function h is such that hx equals 3x divided by 2 minus x. Find g in brackets minus 2. So what they've done is they've substituted the x, okay? X is now equal to minus 2. So what we need to do is substitute minus 2 in this equation for x. So g minus 2, okay? You can see they've changed the x to a minus 2, so we have to change the x to minus 2 in here. And if you put that in your calculator, you should get an answer of minus 46. Okay, next question. Express the composite function hg in the form hg of x. Give your answer in simplest form. Okay, hg of x. Again, for functions, this is something you just have to learn. So the more you practice, the better. Okay, you get your original function, h, and you substitute that g function into that function, okay? So h is the original function, and you're putting g of x into that function. So I'm going to substitute the x's for g's now, because we're putting that whole g of x function, this whole g of x function into the h of x function, okay? So hgx will give you 3g over 2 minus g. And now we just have to substitute. So g is 2 minus 3x to the power 4 divided by 2 minus 3x to the power 4. And it says give it your answer in the simplest form, so we have to make sure we expand everything. So that will be 6 minus 9x to the power 4 over 2 minus 2 plus 3x to the 4, which is 6 minus 9x to the 4 over 3x to the 4, because 2 minus 2 is 0, and then we can divide everything by 3, because it's a common factor, so 2 minus 3x to the 4 equals, divided by x over 4, x to the power 4. So your final answer will be 2 minus 3x to the power 4 divided by x to the power 4. That's in its simplest form. Okay. Next question. The acceleration of an object is given by this formula where v, and they've given you the values correct to 2 decimal places or 2 significant figures. By considering bounds, work out the value of a to a suitable degree of accuracy. Show your working clearly and give a reason for your answer. Okay, whenever you see these questions where it says considering bounds, you know it's about upper bound and lower bound. And when it says, unless it states specifically work out the upper bound and lower bound, if they say give a suitable degree of accuracy, you have to work out both bounds, so both the upper and lower bound. Okay, so this is quite a long question. Let's start. So what I like to do first is work out the maximum and minimum for each of the variables that they've given, so v, u, and t. So let's start off with v, 45.23. So let's work out the upper bound and the lower bound for all of the variables. So since this is correct to 2 decimal places, the upper bound will be 45.235. You add 0.005. Okay, so whenever you have a bound, so this is correct to 2 dp, the upper and lower bound has to be 1 more. Okay, so this has to be 3 dp and this also has to be 3 dp. So which is why you add 0.005. And here you have to subtract 0.005 to work out the lower bound. So that will be 45.225. Let's do the same for you, 5.12. The upper bound will be 5.125 and the lower bound will be 5.115. Okay, again, it has to be 1 decimal place more. T, 8.5. This is to 2 significant figures, so these answers have to be to 3 significant figures. So the upper bound will be 8.55 and the lower bound will be 8.45. Now, as I mentioned earlier, what we need to do now is work out the upper bound and the lower bound to work out the value of a to a suitable degree of accuracy. Okay, so a equals v minus u divided by t. Let's rewrite that formula. And we need to let's start off by working out the upper bound of a. So upper bound of a. Now, if we're going to try and maximize a, what we need to do is maximize the top and minimize the bottom to work out the maximum value of a. Okay, so to maximize v minus u, what you want to do is subtract the high value of v, so 45.235, because that's the highest value of v, from a low value of u, 5.115. That gives you a maximum on the top, and you want the lowest value for t, which is 8.45. And that should give you an answer if you put it in your calculator. Write a few decimal places out. It's good, because you need it for later. So that's your upper bound. Now for lower bound of a, you want to, okay, let me work that out. You want to minimize the top and maximize the bottom, okay? So that's how you get the lowest value for a. You want to minimize the top and maximize the bottom. So what that means is you want to get a low value for v, okay? Get your low value for v. Oops. Low value for v and a high value for u, because then you'll get the smallest value. Think about it. If you get a very small value for v and you get a high value for u, then you'll get a small value overall on top, okay? So that means the lowest value for v is 45.225, subtracted from a high value of u, 5.125, and you also want to maximize t, okay? So you want to choose a high value, 8.55, and that will give you an answer of, if I put that in my calculator, 4.69005. Okay, now let's go back to the question. By considering bounds, work out the value of a to a suitable degree of accuracy. Okay, so when it says suitable degree of accuracy, we now need to consider both the upper and lower bounds to work out a final value for a, because when we work out the final value for a, it has to make sure to include the upper and the lower bound of a that we worked out. So that's the maximum and the minimum. So let's start off with, so how you do these questions is you approach them by starting off with quite a, so you don't go very accurate. You start off quite inaccurate by taking, say, the first two. So let's start off as 4.7, okay? If we take 4.7 as our value of a, we have to make sure we worked out the upper bound and the lower bound. So this is 2SF, so these answers have to be 3SF. So the max upper bound will be 4.75 and the lower bound will be 4.65. Now, if we take a as 4.7, we have to make sure that the upper bound and lower bound of a are included in this maximum and minimum. So 4.7479 is less than 4.75, so yes, that's included. And 4.69005 is greater than 4.65, so that's included. So A is suitable, okay? A is suitable because it includes both. Okay, make sure you write reasoning to why you think 4.7 is the answer. Includes both the upper bound and lower bound of A. Now, we can't stop there. We have to work out the next one too. Okay, say that we take 3 significant figures now. So we do 4.75 because we're going to have to round up. 4.75. Let's work out the upper bound and lower bound for that. 4.755 and 4.745. Now, does it include the upper bound of A? Yes, because 4.7479 is less than 4.755. However, does it include the lower bound of A? 4.69005. It's not within this range. So we can't take A as 4.75 because it doesn't include the lower bound. So that means that the final answer for A has to be 4.7. Okay, it has to include the upper bound, lower bound. So that's what they mean by working out the value of A using to a suitable degree of accuracy. You have to consider both bounds. So yeah, this is a common question, so just look out for it and make sure you understand how to do it, how to approach it. Next question. The radius, so we're nearly there guys, 4 more questions. The radius of a right circular cylinder is x centimeters. The height of the cylinder is 800 over pi x minus x. The volume of the cylinder is v centimeter cubed. Find the maximum value. Okay, a tip here. If they say maximum value or minimum value, it means differentiation. It's going to have something got to do with differentiation. Okay? So, give your answer correct to the nearest whole number. I always like to highlight this because I always forget. It's good to make sure you follow what the question says, because otherwise you will lose marks for it. Normally, if they haven't stated this, it's 3 significant figures, but here they've told us it has to be to the nearest whole number. Okay. So, let's first work out the volume of the cylinder. Okay, let's work out the volume of the cylinder. So, V is equal to, so you have to make sure you know the formula. Actually, they've given it to you at the beginning, I think. Let's check. The cylinder. Have they? Yeah, pi r squared h, okay? They're giving it to you. So the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. Pi r squared h. Now, they've told us the radius is x, so let's substitute r for x. Pi x squared, and the height is 800 over pi x minus x centimeters. So let's simplify this. Let's expand the brackets. So pi x squared multiplied by 800 over pi x is going to give you an answer of 800 pi x squared over pi x minus pi x squared multiplied by x, which is pi x cubed. Now we can simplify this. The pi's cancel out. The x can divide, so you can simplify that to 800. So 800x minus pi x cubed. So that's the volume of the cylinder. But what they're asking is the maximum volume of V. So that means we need to differentiate this equation here. Okay, we want to work out the maximum volume of V. So we have to differentiate it and we have to equal that to 0. So dv over dx. Now when you differentiate, you take the indice down, okay? So 3 is going to come down and multiply with the constant, or like the integer at the front, which is pi. So pi, we have to remember it is a number, okay? It's 3 point something, but we just have it as a symbol because it's such a long number. So 3 pi, and then we subtract 1 from the indice. So 3 pi x squared. So that's differentiated. Again here, this is to the power 1. So 800 to the power 1 is 800, and then when you subtract 1 from 0, it's going to give you x to the power of 0, which is 1. So when you differentiate it, it gives you 800. So that's differentiated. That's dv over dx, which is equal to 800 minus 3 pi x squared. Now it says maximum value of v, and that means what we need to do with the differentiated equation here is equate it to 0, okay? And we need to solve for x. That will give you the maximum length. So let's work that out. 800 equals 3 pi x squared. If we take 3 pi x squared to the other side. Now if we divide by 3 pi both sides, 800 over 3 pi equals x squared. Let's go down. Okay, x equals root 800 over 3 pi. And if you put that in your calculator, you should get an answer of, quickly do that, 9.213, blah, blah, blah. Now, make sure you read the question. It's asking for the maximum volume, okay, maximum value of v. So you have to make sure you substitute x back into the equation for v, which we have here. Okay, you have to make sure you substitute it back into this equation here, because they're asking for the maximum value of v, not of x. So if we do that now, V equals 800 multiplied by 9.213 minus pi 9.213 cubed. And that should give you an answer. Remember, you have to give it to the nearest whole number. It should give you an answer of 4,914. 4,914. Okay? Yeah, 4,914. So that was worth 5 marks. Okay, cool. Next question, 21. The diagram shows a cross-section of a circular water pipe. OABC is a sector of the circle centre O. The shaded region in the diagram represents the water flowing in the pipe. The water flows at 14 centimeters per second in the pipe. Work out the volume of water that has flown through the pipe in 3 minutes. Give your answer to 3 significant figures. Okay. How many marks? 5 marks. Okay. So many long questions at the end, guys. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I think if we begin by so what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to talk you through my approach. I'm going to begin by working out this ABC, okay, ABC, that shaded region that I'm going to work it out. Once I've worked, the reason why I'm working it out, first of all, is because the water is flowing into that area, into area ABC, okay? That's where water is flowing in the pipe. Once I work that out, I'll get an area in centimeters squared. So I'm going to use units here. I'll get an area in centimeters squared. Now, it's asking the volume of water that has flowed in 3 minutes. We know that the rate of water flowing is 14 centimeters in 1 second. So we can work out how much water is flowing in 3 minutes. Let's actually just do that now, because it's quite simple, quite straightforward. Let's do that now. And then we can work out the area of the sector. And then you'll get why I've done that. So 14 centimeters in 1 second. The rate which water is flowing at is 14 centimeters in 1 second. And they want us to work out how much is flown in 3 minutes. So let's convert that into seconds. It'll be 180 seconds. So multiply by 180, multiply by 180. And that will give you an answer of 2,520 centimeters. Okay? Cool. Now that I've got the centimeters, okay, how much water is flowing in 3 minutes, 2,520 centimeters. Once I've worked out the area of this region here, ABC, okay, shaded region, if we multiply that by centimeters, okay, you can even just look at the units. Centimeters squared multiplied by centimeters will give you centimeters cubed, which is the units for volume, and that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what they're asking for. Or you can even look at it as if this is a length, that's area times length gives you volume of water. Okay, so 2 ways of looking at it. So now that I've explained it and I've worked out the length of water in 180 seconds, let's work out that shaded region. Okay, it's quite straightforward because they've given us the lengths. We just need to make sure we're comfortable with how to work it out. Let me go back up and show you. Okay, so what we're going to do to work out the shaded region is we're first going to work out the area of this whole sector. Okay, we're going to work out this whole sector, that area, and then we're going to subtract the white triangle from it, and that will give you that shaded region. Okay, simple. Let's work it out now. Okay, so let's start off by working out the sector, the area of that big sector. So let me redraw it for you guys. Oops, not the best diagram, but hope you understand what I'm going for. What's the length? The radius? 4.8. Okay, so remember that's the radius, OA, because O is the center and that's going to the circumference, so that's the radius. 4.8. Now, the area of sector. So this is a formula you need to learn. I don't think they give it to you. Theta over 360 pi r squared. Okay, theta in this case is 72 over 360 pi times radius squared. So the radius is 4.8. And that will give you an answer of, let me work that out quickly, 72 over 360 times pi times 4.8 squared. 14.4764. It's good to write out a few digits, otherwise it's going to add up the error and you're not going to get an accurate value at the end. now we're going to find the area of that triangle here. Okay, that triangle OAC. So then we can subtract it. So let me draw that triangle out. OAC, that's 4.8, and 72. So the area of a triangle, they give it to you in the formula booklet. Remember, this is not a right angle triangle, so you can't do half times base times height. This is not right angle, there's no right angles here. So you have to use the formula half AB sine theta. So half times 4.8 times 4.8 times sine 72. And that will give you an area of, let me work that out quickly, 10.956. Now, what we need to do is subtract those two areas. Okay, we need to subtract those two areas so that we can work out the shaded region. So if I do that here, so it's all on one page, it should give you an answer of 3.52 centimeters squared to 3 SF, okay? It's 3 SF. Now that we've got the area of this shaded region here, okay? Remember what I told you before, what we're going to do is multiply that area by the length that we got that flows in 180 seconds, because they want to work out the volume of water that's flowed in 3 minutes. So we're going to multiply that answer by 2,520 to get the volume of water. Okay, so 3.52 multiplied by 2,520. 3.52 multiplied by 2,520. And that should give you an answer of 8,870 centimeter cubed to 3 SF. Okay. 8,870 centimeter cubed. Next question. The first term of an arithmetic series is 2t plus 1, where t is greater than 0. The nth term of this arithmetic series is 14t minus 5. The common difference is 3. The sum of the first n terms can be written as in this format, where p, q, and r are integers. Find the values of p, q, and r. Show clear algebraic working. Okay. So, here you have to use the formulae for the series. There's 2 formulae and they're giving it to you at the start of the exam, okay, in the formula booklet. Now, let me walk you through my approach. What I'm going to start off by doing is working out what n is. And the reason for that is, actually, let me write the 2 formula that we're going to use. We're going to work out the nth term, We're going to work out the nth term using that formula a plus n minus 1d, okay? Now, once we've worked out what n is, we're going to substitute it into that formula because they want us to work out the sum of the first n terms. Okay, so the formula is, which they're given to you at the start of the booklet, n over 2, 2a plus n minus 1d. Okay, that's the formula. So once we've worked out what n is, we're going to substitute it in here. We know what a is, we know what d is, and then we can find what Sn is. Okay, so it's quite straightforward. Now, let's label the variables. Let's identify what each of the variables are. The first term is 2t plus 1. So that's going to be a. A stands for the first term. So a equals 2t plus 1. The nth term is 14t minus 5. So that's what this is. And we're going to work that out. We're going to work out what this is using a, d, and this. The common difference is 3. So d, which is the common difference in both of these equations, is 3. Now let's work it out. Let's start off by using the first equation. The nth term, which is given, is 14t minus 5. And that's equal to a, which is 2t plus 1, plus n minus 1. N is what we need to work out, so we can substitute it in the second equation. And d is 3. So let's work out this equation. Let's work out what n is. 2t plus 1, and I'm going to expand this, plus 3n minus 3. So we need to work out n. 14t minus 5 equals 2t. 1 minus 3 is minus 2, plus 3n Now subtract 2t from both sides. 12t minus 5 equals 3n minus 2, and add 2 to both sides. 12t minus 3 equals 3n, and then divide by 3 both sides. N equals 4t minus 1. Okay, so now that we found out what n is, we can now substitute it in this formula here, Sn, to work out the sum, which they've asked, the sum of the first n terms, okay? And we have to make sure we write it in that formula, in that format, sorry, to work out what p, q, and r are. Okay, so Sn is equal to n over 2, so n is 4t minus 1 over 2, multiplied by 2. We know what a is. What do we say? 2t plus 1? Yeah. Plus n minus 1, so 4t minus 1 minus 1, 4t minus 2, d. Okay? Now we just need to simplify this whole equation here, okay? Plus, sorry, what am I doing? What am I doing? 1 minute. Let me quickly rub that out. I'm just going to expand the brackets, guys, okay? So that'll be 4t plus 2 plus 12t minus 6. And that'll give you 4t minus 1 over 2. 16t minus 4, and you can rewrite this as, I'm going to try and get it into that formula, into that format, sorry. That's p in brackets qt minus 1r. Okay, so we want it as p in brackets qt minus 1 to the power of r. Okay, so p is a constant, an integer rather, so I'm going to write half, because divide by 2 basically means multiply by half. 4t minus 1. And here, 16t minus 4, we can factorize it by taking 4 out and 4t minus 1. Now what we have here is half, and then 4t minus 1 multiplied by 4t minus 1, we can write it as 4t minus 1 squared, and multiplied by 4, multiplied by 4. And that, in other words, is going to be 2 in brackets 4t minus 1 squared. Okay, so what I've just done is taken the half, factorized 4 out of this 16t minus 4, and then multiply half and 4 to give you 2. And then 4t minus 1, because it's multiplying by itself, you can write it as 4t minus 1 squared. And now, as you can see, this is equal, this is in the exact same format as that. Okay, so we can just easily find what p, q, and r are. So p is going to be, it's not, okay, p is going to be equal to, sorry, wait, yeah, p is going to equal 2, okay, p is equal to 2, q is equal to 4, and r is equal to 2, okay, cool, p is 2, q is 4, and r is 2, 2, 4, 2, okay, let's move on. Next question. ABCD is a kite, AB equals AD, and CB equals CD. The point B has coordinates K1, where K is a negative constant. Point D has coordinates 8, 7. Straight line L passes through points B and D. The straight line L is parallel to the line with equation 5y minus 3x equals 6. Find an equation of AC and write it in this format that they've given. Okay, so whenever they've given a kite question, a coordinate geometry question, I like to start by drawing a diagram. It's so much easier to visualize, and you can label it as you go. It's just easier. So let's draw a quick kite. Okay, actually let me draw it a bit bigger, because we're going to be labeling on quite a bit of information. Okay. Okay, so A, B, C, and D. AB is equal to AD, and CB is equal to CD, okay, in terms of the length. Point B has coordinates k1, where k is less than 0 because it's negative, and point D has coordinates 8, 7. And straight line L passes through BD. Okay, so that's line L. And it's parallel to the line with the equation 5y minus 3x equals 6. So when you think of parallel, you've got the equation of line, you want to immediately think of gradients, okay? Because the gradient of L can be found by working out the gradient of this line over there. And we need to work out the equation of AC. So let's look at that. AC is perpendicular to BD, okay? It's perpendicular to BD. So now what you need to be thinking is about gradients. If you've got the gradient of BD, you can easily work out the gradient of AC by taking the negative reciprocal because they're perpendicular lines, okay? Now, again, this is quite a long question. 6 marks. So let me talk you through my process and then we'll work through it together. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, L is passing through B and D. Okay, we've got line L. That's not the equation of line L. We have to be careful. It says it's parallel to the line with the equation 5y minus 3x equals 6. So what I'm going to first do is work out the gradient of this. I'm going to work out the gradient of this line here, 5y minus 3x equals 6. Once I've worked out the gradient of that, the gradient is going to be exactly the same for straight line L because the gradient lines are parallel to each other. So the gradients are going to be the same, okay? Now, once I've worked out the gradient of line L, I can easily work out the gradient of line AC because, as I said, they're negative reciprocal. They're perpendicular to each other, okay? So once I worked out the gradient of line AC, remember, if you have a straight line, y equals mx plus c, we've worked out the gradient, you now need to work out what c is. So we need to substitute some coordinates in. Now, what would you substitute? We need to see what AC is passing through, and it's clearly passing through the midpoint of BD, okay? They're perpendicular, and AC is going to be passing through the midpoint of BD. Now, we could work out the midpoint of BD, but we have a problem here. We do not want to know what K is, okay? So, before we work out the midpoint of BD and substitute it to work out what C is and find the equation of AC, we first need to work out what K is. Okay, I hope you guys understand. So, let me go through that again. We have y equals mx plus c, which is the equation of a line, any line, but specifically AC in this case, okay? Once we've worked out the gradient of AC, we need to work out what c is. So we need to substitute some coordinates in, okay? What coordinates are we going to substitute? Well, AC is passing through the midpoint of BD, so we can work out the midpoint of BD, but we don't know what K is. So K is what we need to work out first. And how would you do that? Well, we do know the gradient of BD. Okay, we do know the gradient of BD. And once we have an equation for that, okay, we can substitute 8, 7 and work out C, and then substitute K1 and work out what K is. Now, it's hard to see right now, but once I go through it, let's actually just start. It's going to be so much easier, you'll understand. And once we've worked out what K is, you can work out the midpoint and substitute it to work out what the equation of AC is. So it sounds quite long, but trust me, it'll be fine. Let's go through it now. Let's do it. Okay. So let's start off by working out the gradient of line L. We know that line L is parallel to 5y minus 3x equals 6. Okay, so let's work out the gradient of 5y minus 3x equals 6. Rearrange it. So gradient of line L is going to be 3 over 5 because it's equal to the gradient of this line, which is 3 over 5. And now we can work out the gradient of AC because it's going to be the negative reciprocal. The two lines are perpendicular to each other. So the gradient of AC is minus 5 over 3. Okay? Now that we've worked out the gradient of AC, remember what I said? That we need a set of coordinates, which we're going to substitute. And that's going to be the midpoint of BD, but we don't know what K is. So here we have the gradient of line L, which is 3 over 5. So let's complete the equation for line L. Let's find what line L is, the whole equation. So we know y equals 3 over 5x plus c, okay? Because m is 3 over 5. Let's substitute some coordinates to find what c is. So BD, which is line L, is passing through coordinates D, which is 8, 7. So if we substitute 8, 7 in here, 3 over 5 multiplied by 8, okay, will give you 24 over 5 plus c, and y coordinate is 7. So c is going to equal minus, no, let me just work that out quickly, 11 over 5. Okay, so we know now that the equation for line L, which is passing through BD, is y equals 3 over 5x plus 11 over 5. Okay, so that's this line here, BD. So K1 is clearly passing through line BD. So what we can do is substitute it into this equation, into line L, to work out what K is. So let's substitute K1. Okay, so x is K. So 3/5 K plus 11 over 5 equals 1, because y is 1. Let's solve this equation. 3 over 5k equals minus 6 over 5, and k is equal to minus 2. Okay, so k is equal to minus 2. So now we can rewrite this coordinates, and it's obviously less than 0, so it seems correct. Minus 2, 1. Okay, so we've worked out k, and now we've got the coordinates for b. And now easily you can find the midpoint of BD. We've got the coordinates of B, we've got the coordinates of D, and you can find the midpoint. So let's work out the midpoint of BD. So B, we've got the coordinates minus 2, 1, and D, the coordinates 8, 7. So the midpoint you work out by using this formula. You add the x values divided by 2, and you add the y values and divide it by 2. Okay, that's how you work out midpoint. So minus 2 plus 8 divided by 2, 1 plus 7 divided by 2. And that will give you a midpoint of 3, 4. Okay, so the midpoint is 3, 4. Now that we have the midpoint, we can substitute it into this equation for AC. We know the gradient of AC, we know some coordinates to substitute, so now we can easily work out the line. So the gradient we worked out was minus 5 over 3, because it was the negative reciprocal of line L, and we know the coordinates of path 3 is 3, 4. So let's substitute that in here. Minus 5 over 3 multiplied by 3 is minus 5 plus c equals 4. So c equals 9. Y equals minus 5 over 3x plus 9. So that's the equation of AC, but be careful, because you can lose a mark for this. What it says here is give your answer in the form px plus qy equals r. Okay, so now we need to rewrite this equation in that form now. So, let's multiply everything by 3. 3y equals minus 5x plus 9, and add 5x to both sides. 5x plus 3y equals 9. So now we have it in that equation, that format that they wanted. What was it? Px plus qy equals r. Px plus qy equals r. And now we've got p is 5, q is 3, r is 9. So it's in the exact same format. So that's the answer. 5x plus 3y equals 9. Okay. Cool. Last question, guys. Oh, vectors. Tough. Vectors is quite tough. I got to admit that it is quite tough. But once you've done quite a bit of practice and you know how to tackle it, because it's the same method each time, okay? So you just need to do a bit of practice and you'll get there. Now, let's read the question. OAED is a quadrilateral. OA is 2A, so they've given us some vectors, and AB to BD is a ratio of 1 to 2. The point C on AB is such that OCE is a straight line. Use a vector method to find the ratio of OC to CE. Okay, so these questions are obviously worth quite a bit, 5 marks, but if you work out even some of the vectors, you'll get quite a bit of marks, okay? So let's work out the vectors that we know, okay? Then it'll be much easier to tackle. So they've given us that's 2A, they've given us OB is 2B, so we can clearly work out what AB is. Okay, AB is going to be equal to AO plus OB. Okay, because AB is going in that direction, you're going to go backwards, AO plus OB. So AO you have to be careful. OA is 2A. So AO is the inverse. It's going to be minus 2A plus OB, which is 2B. So that's the vector of AB. Let's see if we can work out anything else. And I recommend labeling the diagram as you go, because it's much easier. Minus 2A plus 2B. Let's see if we can work out any other vectors. We can work out what BED is. We can work out this vector here. Why? Because they've given us this ratio. AB to BED is 1 to 2. So if AB is minus 2A plus 2B, BD is just going to be twice that, minus 4A plus 4B, because there's a 1 to 2 ratio. And therefore, we can work out what AD is, the whole length. All we need to do to work out AD is add AB plus BD. And that'll give you the whole length, okay? So, let's do that now. Minus 2A plus 2B plus minus 4A plus 4B. And that'll give you minus 6A plus 6B. So that's length A, that's vector AD, minus 6A plus 6B. Can we work out anything else? Let's see. We can work out what AE is. We know what AD is now, we've just worked out. We know what D is, so we can easily work out what AE is. I recommend drawing arrows so you know what direction you're going, because otherwise it gets too confusing. AD is going that way, AE is going that way. So let's work out vector AE. AE equals, it's going, which way are we going? Let's see. AE, we're going that way. AD plus DE. Okay, AD plus DE. So let's add that on. AE equals AD plus DE. And we can write the vectors for that. AD is minus 6A plus 6B, and DE, which they've given, is 7A plus 3B. If we work that out, that will give you 8 plus 9B. So vector AE is equal to A plus 9B. Now, I think that's all the vectors we can work out. So let's go back to the question. Use a vector method to find the ratio of OC to CE. Okay, so OC is this line here. OC, and CE is up here. Okay, not the best line, sorry guys, but it is a straight line. Okay, it says here it's a straight line. Okay, so let me draw an arrow. We need to work out the ratio of OC to CE. So what I recommend doing is using a new variable, because we clearly don't know what OC is. Okay, and we need to work that out. Let's work out what vector OC is. So OC is clearly OA plus AC. Let me show you that. OC is OA plus AC. But we don't know what length AC is. Okay, so let's introduce a new variable. AC is going to be some proportion, some fraction of AD. Okay, so AC is going to be some fraction. I'm going to label it K. K is a fraction of AD. Okay, it's going to be some proportion, some fraction of AD. Now we can work out what OC is. OC is OA plus AC, as we said before. I'm going to continue up here so you can all see it. You can see it on one page, otherwise it's going to get too confusing. OA is 2A. Okay, that's the vector for OA. And AC, we labeled it as K of AD. So K of AD. And AD we worked out was minus 6A plus 6B. Okay? That's OC. Now CE. How do we work out CE? Now I think the best way to work out CE is first working out OE. Because we can work out OE without using K or anything, okay? Because OE is just going to be OA. Let me show you. OE is going to be OA plus AE. And AE we've worked out already. Okay, we've just worked out AE. So let's work out OE. Okay, OE is going to be OA plus AE, which is 2A plus A plus 9B, 3A plus 9B, okay? Now that we know what OE is and we also know what OC is, we can subtract OE from OC to work out CE, because that's just the remaining length, okay? OE minus OC will give you length CE, which is exactly what we need to find the ratio. So OC is equal to OE minus OC. Sorry. Yeah. So that's going to be 3a plus 9b minus 2a plus k minus 6a plus 6b. Now we just need to simplify this. Okay, let me do that for you guys. 3a plus 9b minus 2a minus 6ak plus 6kb (3a minus 2a is a, plus 9b minus 6 minus 6ak is plus 6ak, and minus plus 6kb is minus 6kb. So that is what OC is. Okay, so this is getting a bit confusing, so let me highlight the two vectors that we need to find the ratio. So we need to find the ratio of OC to CE. So OE is 3a plus 9b. Sorry, we don't need that. We don't need that. Okay, OC is this, and sorry. Yeah, OC is that, and CE is that. I accidentally wrote it wrong, so let me rewrite that quickly. CE. Okay, so those are the two vectors that we actually need. We've worked out OC and we've also worked out CE. Now we just need to work out the ratio. So you can see that there's just so many letters here. So we need to first work out what K is. We need to work out what K is. And once we've worked out K, we can easily find the ratio. So how do we do that? Let me rewrite the two vectors for you on here, so we can work out what K is. OC (2a minus 6ak plus 6kb). Now if we factorize the a out, so we can just write a in brackets 2 minus 6k plus 6kb. And now for CE, we got a vector of a plus 9b plus 6ak minus 6kb. And we can factorize again the a's out, simplify it, 1 plus 6k plus b, sorry, it's glitching a bit, 9 minus 6k. Okay, now we have these two equations, vectors. What we're going to do is find out what k is. So the ratio of that to that, the ratio of this to this, is equal to the ratio of this to this. So what I mean by this is, because we factorized the a out, we can now divide that by that to give you, which will equal this divided by that, because they're the same ratio, remember? Okay, so 1 plus 6k, sorry, let me do it like this. Let me divide the top by the bottom. 2 minus 6k divided by 1 plus 6k equals 6k divided by 9 minus 6k. And if you cross multiply now, and now we just need to solve for k. So I'm going to expand the brackets, and that'll give you 18 minus 66k plus 36k squared equals 6k plus 36k squared. Now subtract 36k squared from both sides, and that'll be gone. Add 66k to both sides, and you get 18 equals 72k, so k equals 4. quarter, sorry, k equals a quarter. So now that we found what k is, we can rewrite these vectors. Okay, we can rewrite OC and CE. So OC is going to be A, and then let's substitute a quarter for k. Um, 6 times a quarter b, and that's equal to, if we simplify it, that will give you half a plus 3 over 2b. And if we do the same for this, if we substitute a quarter in, okay, you'll get 5 over 2a plus 15 over 2b. Okay, no why it's glitching. Yeah. So we've worked out OC to CE, so now we can say OC to CE half a plus, okay, OC to CE, we can see that this CE is 5 times OC, okay, because 5 multiplied by half a plus 3 over 2b multiplied by half a plus 3 over 2b will give you 5 over 2a plus 15 over 2b, okay? So that means that the ratio of OC to CE is 1 to 5, because multiply 5 by OC, 5 OC gives you CE. So the ratio of OC to CE is 1 to 5. And that's it. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the paper. I know it was quite difficult near the end. The vector question especially takes quite a bit of working. There are loads of ways you can do this, but this is usually the way I approach it. So I work out as many vectors as I can, and then I label one of the variables as k, okay? So if you label it as a ratio, you can then find what k is and then substitute it back in and find the ratio. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any paper recommendations, any papers that you'd like me to solve, biology, chemistry, maths or physics, any board, just leave it in the comment section, or I'm actually going to add a link to a form and you can fill that out. So I'll aim to post the video the next day once I've seen your request, and please do consider subscribing and liking the video just for the algorithm. And yeah, thank you for watching. See you later. Bye.